How hard is it to sing Born in the
Bruce's
USA?
most difficult song.
It's near impossible. We recorded that one over some time, and it laid me out. I was on the ground. I couldn't breathe. And that's a song that Bruce still performs.
It's about searching for something. Something that's going to give your life a little bit of meaning.
Talk about this. It's been a long road, as they say, to get this point where you're seeing audiences all over the place, seeing the movie finally. How does it feel to have this on the screen, and is this what you wanted?
Well, it's exactly the film that I set out to make. You know, it's fraught. But
Well, I know one guy that's seen it 13 times, and his name is Bruce Springsteen.
Yes, Bruce. Bruce.
He can't get enough of it, Scott.
No, it's kind of. I think honestly, I think it's therapeutic for Bruce. It was such a hard, obviously very painful chapter in his life, but I mean, he's seen the movie so many times, and then the last time I saw him, I said, he was like, "Wow, this was a big screen." I said, "Yeah, Bruce, this is IMAX." He said, "So is that going to be a bigger sound?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay, I'll see it again." I mean, he honestly can't get enough of it. I love it.
How closely, I know he was on the set a lot too, but
Yeah.
how closely in the development of this was he with you?
Well, he was on tour. He was incredibly open to me, and then I think he became more and more trusting with me. You can only glean so much from an autobiography or Warren Zanes' wonderful book, but to really understand his psychological state, you got to ask him questions. You got to spend a lot of time with him, which I did. And there are many things in the movie that he's never spoken about. So I think we got to a point to where he was incredibly open with me and realized that the movie was going to be essentially as Nebraska is, very spare, minimalist, very honest. During the writing of the screenplay, during the shooting of the film, and then as Pam can attest, during the cutting of the film, he kept saying to me, "You got to give me a Scott Cooper movie, and don't sand off the edges. Don't have the camera look away. Don't let the audience off the hook." I knew that I wanted Jeremy, and I talked to Bruce about it and turned Bruce on to Jeremy's work in The Bear, and we agreed that Jeremy had the intensity, that he could play the vulnerability necessary. That was clear. He has Bruce's swagger, which you can't really learn. Yeah. You either have that or you don't. But I'll be honest, what I didn't know about Jeremy was that he would go through the very humbling process of becoming Bruce Springsteen. And we talked about it not being imitation, not being mimicry, not cosplay, just to really find his emotional truth, to really understand the essence of Bruce and capture his spirit. But I did not know, quite honestly, that Jeremy was going to sing as well as he did.
Jeremy, did you know you could sing as well?
No. I mean, there was so much guesswork there. I think, very early on, Scott was so confident, it made me confident. I mean, he was like, "We're going to have you doing the singing. We have time. We're going to get you with the guitar. We have time." But then he always said, "We have a safety net. Like, we'll figure it out." I found a great comfort in sort of pushing myself more and more and more. I think if I knew it was really going to end up being me, singing the songs, it would have been too daunting to begin the process. But I think, I was very lucky. I worked with this guy, Eric Vitro, who's a wonderful vocal coach. I worked with J.D. Simo and, played the guitar a lot. But it's willpower and time, really. I mean, just putting time in, repetition.
You should ask Jeremy how hard it is to sing Born in the USA.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
How hard is it to sing Born
Bruce's
in the USA?
most difficult song.
It's near impossible. I mean, if I had to sing that one live, like we recorded that one over some time, and it laid me out. I had a headache. I was on the ground. I couldn't breathe. And that's a song that Bruce still performs at 75, 76 now.
Yeah, but he will say, sometimes if he sees it on the set list and his voice isn't there, he'll turn to Max Weinberg and say, "Not tonight."
Yeah.
It's his hardest song.
Gives him a hard time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, Pam, Scott referenced the cutting here of it and the challenge that you had too, because we not only have some big scenes, Born in the USA and everything, we have a lot of quiet, very introspective scenes, and then we have all the flashbacks shot beautifully in black and white and everything. So how did you keep the tone going through this in the editing?
I think it was, keeping the album Nebraska in mind, primarily, staying true to the emotion of the story. I had seen many of Scott's earlier films, all dealing with tortured souls and dark material. And one conversation we had very early, do you remember? He said, the humor is important.
Yes.
It's a counterpoint here.
My movies don't have a lot of humor.
Yeah, and don't let me cut all that stuff out. Kind of just there's a balance. The movie, real life is tragic and it's funny and it's quiet. Figuring out all those flashbacks was a big part of it. They moved around a bit in the film. And some of the challenges involved not only figuring out where they go, but how are they going to fit in and seem as if they always belonged in those places. And that just took some experimenting.
Jeremiah, music, talk about weaving that in here in the appropriate ways to make it work.
I think for me, I thought as much as what I wanted not to do with the score, equally what I did want to do, but probably more what I wanted to avoid. And I think what I was actively trying to avoid was competing with Bruce Springsteen. I stayed heavily away from acoustic guitars because obviously Nebraska is mostly acoustic guitar. So I opted for electric guitars and sound design and a crummy old sort of upright. And the question sort of implies, did I feel pressure competing with Bruce in some sort of format? And the answer is no. And I'm not just saying this because Jeremy's on stage. When I saw the cut of Jeremy portraying Bruce, I felt like I had my safety net as the composer, that he did such a sound job with that I didn't have to fill in any blanks musically. I didn't have to save anything he had, left out of the film. I just sort of was in my own silo, kind of just making music that I wanted to hear in the movie, and then sending, of course, to Pam and Jason Reuter and Scott. And coincidentally, they liked a lot of it too, so that was good. But yeah, it was such a thrilling process.
And Masanobu, you have that director cinematographer relationship, but what about this particular project? Because there's a lot involved in this one.
Yeah, this one, the Scott and also Stefania, the production designer, we all agreed that we're gonna make the movie the way that Bruce recorded this album. We tried to strip down as much as possible. We wanted to be really honest to the emotion and the mind of the Bruce, as if we're there. Bruce was generous enough to send Scott a lot of photos of his childhood and his personal photos, and most of them are kind of black and white. So that's how we also saw, and that's how Bruce was feeling. So that felt really right. And also the Night of the Hunter, too, in the movie. That was definitely one of the influence to decide 1950s as black and white.
And sitting to your left, Francine, Maisler, to talk about the casting process here.
Scott and I have worked on, 4 or 5 movies together, so we speak the same language in terms of what he responds to in actors and how much he respects them. He seeks an authenticity to a performance, and he'd always say, I don't like when they're acting, We like the same types of performers, artists. Even with Jeremy, we discussed it. He had him in mind in the beginning, but we discussed it. And
Yeah, I discuss everything with Francine. She's simply the best. She is unfiltered. She really knows how actors will fit together in an ensemble. She knows which actors will be in the same key, and all the actors that we've worked with have a very rich interior life, which is what I'm looking for, as opposed to an external life that fills something you can find in an acting class. Yeah. I want people who are living and inhabiting these characters like Jeremy and everybody else. But the people on this stage are, quite frankly, the best in the world. Thank you.
Including you, sir.
Thanks so much for coming out here and sharing this
Thank you
with
all
us.
for coming out.
Thank you. Thanks.